everyone. Welcome to this week's Talking with Our Traders. This space was specifically designed to give our listeners unparalleled access to our traders as they break down all the odds heading into this week's biggest matchups. I'm the host, Cindy Edwards, and with me today is Craig Mucklow, Vice President of Trading at Caesars Sportsbook.
Hello there.
Hi, Craig. Next we have Adam Pullen, Assistant Director of Trading.
Hello, everyone.
And Joey Fiesel, Head of College Football here at Caesars.
Hello.
How are you guys doing?
Great. How are you?
Good. How's your week been?
Busy.
We had a
Busy?
sports equinox this week.
Yeah, that's true. Keeping you busy.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, let's just get into it, and we'll start with some college football. Joey, the total for Iowa versus Northwestern is currently 30. Is that the lowest total of the season, and can you talk about setting that number?
Yes, it's currently the lowest. The second lowest was a game a couple weeks back, Minnesota-Iowa. Game ended 12-10 with a controversial ending, with a punt return that maybe he called for a fair catch, maybe he didn't. But yeah, there seems to be a trend with Iowa. Not the greatest offense in the world, but a really sound defense, and that usually leads to unders. When going to make this number or going to put this number out, it's always the question is how low is too low. I think we talk about it every year with this Army-Navy game, as it always trends more and more low, especially, we get into rule changes and stuff like that. Iowa's currently averaging 19.5 points a game while allowing 14.5. Northwestern is averaging 21.6 but allowing 26.9. We're currently seeing money to the over, but that's not too surprising as you see one of these, the lowest number on the board, people are going to bet over, and sometimes the highest bet at the highest point total on the board, they're going to bet under. That's usually early in the week, but I do not expect having a lot of people wanting to back the over as we get into the weekend, and that's it's just so low, and it's proven to be profitable for Iowa. They're 6-2 to the under on the season. Also this week, offensive coordinator Brian Ferentz, head coach Kurt Ferentz's son, will not be returning next season. There was a deal with his contract where he had to average a certain amount of points, so that's going to affect the offense as well. Maybe they're going to be more aggressive. We'll see, but right now, yeah, I'm going to say it's probably going to be trending under.
All right, well, on the flip side, is the total for Washington USC the highest total of the season? Currently 76?
It's tied to the highest.
Tied.
The other one was a Tarleton State TCU game. Ended up going way under, 41-3. And then next after that was USC Colorado at 73.5, and that blew over with 89 points scored. This is, the tale of two teams. USC, very explosive offense, not the greatest defense. Even last week we saw a game against California, who really isn't the greatest offense, 50-49, almost got to 100 points. So this is another one where I could easily see it going over, but with Washington, I think they have a better defense, and we haven't seen Penix have just be so efficient on offense as we've seen him in the early weeks. So this one, I'm not sold that it's going to go over. I could definitely see this kind of falling under, maybe in the 60s or something like that.
There's 25 games of a pretty much total of 70 or more in the last 5 years. The under is 15-8-2.
Good little stat there. All right, I have a question for you guys. Will there be more points scored in a single quarter in the Washington USC game than the entire Iowa Northwestern game?
I'm about to get my wallet out because Joey's going to lay me.
Yeah, I think it's possible. That's a
You're
lot.
saying there's a chance.
There's a chance. There's always a chance. But there's a chance, this Northwestern Iowa could go 45 points scored. It's not likely either. But in these USC games, there could be a quarter where Caleb goes off, the defense gives up a touchdown, it goes back and forth. Surprisingly, you can see at least one of these quarters being very high, and it certainly could happen.
Yeah, we'll see. The Northwestern defense, though, has shown a little weakness. They've scored some points, given up some points, so I don't know. But, yeah, like you said, the explosiveness of USC and Washington could have, when you look at it, could be 0-0, and then next thing you blink, and there's 3 touchdowns in the span of a few minutes, so anything's possible.
I was half expecting Joey to come out with some odds, but I suppose I'll do it. I assumed 31 points are scored in the Northwestern Iowa game. Then I went back and had a look, so I made it plus 950 any one of those quarters to eclipse the final score. But then if you look at the second quarter, which is, if you're going to name a quarter, the second quarter would be the one of 3.5% chance, so 25-1 for it to be the second quarter. But At least somebody priced it up, eh?
Greg's
That's
always
why
got
you're
one
here.
up.
Okay, we've got a two-parter. What does Bo Nix have to do to win the Heisman? And if Oregon and Washington win out, will Penix still be the favorite, Joey?
So for the regular season, Oregon has the easier path.
Right.
We're currently seeing, the market has shifted. We also agree that maybe Oregon is the better team than Washington. More of maybe, in that Oregon-Washington game, was it more of just a couple of bad coaching decisions rather than Washington being the better team? But we also got to take into consideration that the Pac-12 championship is going to be in consideration with that. And I think it would be, Bo Nix could certainly win out and could certainly, I expect Oregon to be favored in that if they meet again in the Pac-12 championship game. And so that really could be the deciding factor for the Heisman Trophy. Could be theirs, or they could have a couple bad games and it could be somebody else. It's one of those things with the Heisman Trophy. It's so volatile, but yeah, I could easily see this game being the game where the Heisman Trophy winner is chosen.
But if Penix does win, he's got a tough schedule. Like Joey mentioned,
Yeah.
Washington's schedule is way tougher. So if he does have some good games against that schedule, it's going to be tough to look past Penix. But yeah, it could come down to here in Las Vegas for the Pac-12 championship. The Pac-12 championship and Heisman Trophy decider. Wouldn't be out of the question.
It's a lot to do with what those around you do as well. It's
Yeah.
like the volatility in the market. It's not just about how Penix performs or Nix performs. We saw Caleb Williams was favourite at one stage, and a few bad performances, he's off the radar.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, this is a fun question. How have the new clock management rules impacted team totals this college football season?
They've made an impact, but probably not as expected. And if we look, if we're looking at a full last year's data, we don't have the snow games yet, so it's not a complete picture yet. But right now, we're seeing about each team having 1.25 less plays per game. But again, yeah, once we get in November, we're going to really find out how much. But so far, it doesn't look like a significant difference it's made.
I looked comparable months to months to get rid of the snow games and the bad weather games. So I looked year on year, and it's about 1.5 point per game difference, 1.6 to be exact, evenly split between the first half and second half. Then I went and compared against the highest scoring year, which was 2020 in the last 5, and it's 5.1 points per game difference. So there is a big difference. But yesterday when we started discussing this and thinking, I was adamant that the second half, without
Right.
looking at the data, was going to be the one. But it's actually the first half, 3.3 points per game difference.
Interesting.
But there's an impact for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are expecting a lot more.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
there's such
Yeah.
radical changes from how it's always been. But yeah, it hasn't materialized as of yet.
All right, let's preview LSU versus Alabama. Fun fact, I was at this game last year, and it was absolutely insane. It was by far probably the most intense game out of college and football that I've ever been at.
Yeah, that was one of the better ones last year. And I'm sure that is certainly fresh in Alabama's mind going into this game. We opened this line, Alabama minus 4.5 last week. We've now seen some LSU money come in where we sit at 3 today. LSU, very explosive offense, but not the greatest defense. And Alabama is kind of the other side of the coin. The strength of that team is their defense, offense. They had the quarterback issues early on. Murrow seems to be catching on, but yeah, this is going to be a good game. I mean, it's going to have so many implications of really who's going to continue on, represent the West in the SEC title game. Ole Miss still, could be in the mix, but they got to play Georgia. So this really should be the game, and I'm really excited to see how this game ends up because this is going to be the tale of two SEC teams that will have an opportunity if they get to the SEC title game and beat Georgia to get in the playoffs. So.
It's going to be great. I mean, it's a night game, massive handle on this game. It's going to be real exciting. It's going to be interesting to see the numbers and how much this game is bet, but it's going to be massive for sure.
Yeah, futures-wise, we need Alabama out of the two, don't we? They're the lesser of two
Yeah, the
evils.
lesser of two evils. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Do we think there will be a storming of the field?
Depends
If
who wins.
Alabama wins?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But Alabama's had
Yeah,
so
true.
many big games. I don't think
When's the last time
it won't be
they
like
stormed the field?
Kansas and
LSU certainly stormed the field last year. I'll just say that. Okay, great. Let's get into some recent news out of the NFL. First off, any reactions to the NFL trade deadline? We saw Josh Dobbs go to the Vikings, Chase Young to the 49ers, and a few other moves. Anything noticeable to you guys?
It was no surprise the Vikings made a move. I mean, we discussed it with a journalist on Sunday. They're in a position where they can still make the playoffs. You're replacing the third best quarterback on stats this year, and Kirk Cousins, with the 24th. But those above him, they're not for trading.
Right.
So yeah, I think he was the only real trade target that was available. So it made sense for me with Dobbs. They've still got a legit shot at the playoffs.
Yeah, I like the Ohio State reunion in San Francisco. I think it's going to be hard to block both those guys. You know, if you should double team Bosa, that's not going to happen anymore because you got a threat on the other side. So, you know, it's the rich get richer with that defense of the 49ers, and that's really what the interesting one. You know, obviously they've had a rough couple games. They had a rough couple games last year. Still ended up in the NFC Championship game. So that's the dangerous 49ers defense.
It says a lot about Washington as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, they said if they didn't win last week, it's changes were in store, and that's exactly what happened. So, but as far as the odds go, no real changes any of these trades. So, but yeah, some big names. And look, anytime a starting quarterback, even though it is the Cardinals, was traded, that's a pretty big deal. But
Right.
Vikings had to do something. Jaron Hall's likely not going to be the answer the rest of the way. And Dobbs has looked okay so far. There's a lot more, so-called better quarterbacks that have thrown more interceptions than he has, and he's been playing from behind in a lot of the games. So kudos to him, but we'll see what he can do in Minnesota.
So is that standard? There's probably usually not an odd shift during the NFL trade deadline, or in previous years has there been?
It's rare because you just
Yeah.
don't see the major trade, not of a superstar type player. I mean, obviously Chase Young is a superstar player, but he's on the defense, so he's not going to have that much impact as far as the odds go. And obviously, with Josh Dobbs, he is a starting quarterback traded, but again, he's not at the top rung of NFL quarterbacks. So, but usually you don't get that much, hardly anything that's going to alter the odds drastically in the midseason trade deadline.
Yeah, they usually happen in the off season. I mean, the last couple I can remember anyway. Randy Moss when he went to the Patriots, that was big. Herschel Walker, that famous trade. You're not old enough, but that was. I mean, a boatload of draft picks, wasn't it?
When the Cowboys
And
a lot
it
of
built the
Super
Cowboys.
Bowls.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, big news out of Las Vegas last night. The Raiders fired head coach Josh McDaniels and GM Dave Ziegler, and today they announced that they would be sitting Jimmy G for rookie QB Aiden O'Connell. With this news, what does it mean for Vegas? Is there any odd shift or difference versus the Giants, and are they still favorites?
They are favorites. The line's come down a point since yesterday. It was 2.5. Now it's sitting at 1.5. The game was as high as 3.5 at one point with the Raiders. But yeah, after what happened Monday night and that abysmal performance, you sort of knew, not surprising the changes were in store. In my opinion, McDaniels could have been let go after week 3 when that decision he made against the Steelers to go for a field goal instead of going for the touchdown. But the writing was on the wall. The offenses looked bad, and obviously they just clean house. The GM, the offensive coordinator as well. But yeah, no, definitely the line moved. But again, it's the Giants. The Giants didn't exactly look too hot last week in a game that really no one deserved to win against the Jets. They had a chance to win the game, missed the field goal. They would have made it easier for them to win. But yeah, we'll see how O'Connell does. Jimmy G did not play well. So, I think it's a no-brainer. Obviously when you have a coaching change, you're going to get instant changes. And I think that's it had to be done. And they're going to roll the dice and see what happens. But yeah, it's not surprising in my opinion that all went down.
In fact, that Adams wasn't traded yesterday. Your disgruntled start. That kind of gave the game away that something else was going to happen.
Right.
But the last time they did it, they made the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Sometimes, maybe he gets the locker room back for the short term. We'll see. It's rare. Coaches usually get fired in mid-season.
Yeah, I was surprised, to be honest.
I mean, if that game wasn't a Monday night game, maybe it's different.
Hidden
away
It's
if
it's
prime
a Sunday.
time.
Everyone's watching.
Everybody saw it. It makes it a lot worse. So yeah.
Definitely. Now that the first firing has happened, do you anticipate this starting an avalanche? Like, do you see anybody else being fired? Can you speculate there?
This is a market we used to be able to offer in Europe, especially around the soccer managers, because that happens every other week.
Yeah.
The soccer manager would get fired. And the handle was off the charts. Like, everybody had an interest because you're betting on your team. Like, my manager sucks, I'm going to have £10 on him to get fired.
That's actually hilarious.
But when I was thinking about this and trying to price it up, I had Lafleur in Green Bay as my second best. only because of the Jordan Love, and you've lost Rodgers and you tied your mass to that player, and they've not looked great, and he seems to be on the hot seat every year. But look, you never want to see it happen, but it's the business of the NFL, and it happens.
To me, the answer was Eberflus for the Bears. The Bears have been abysmal, and I know it's been a couple of years of really no growth for the Bears, but they got a couple draft picks lining up, so I'm going to say he's going to be the second one gone.
Yeah, Rivera seems to be, to me, the most obvious choice. I mean, it looks like Washington is, with the trades they made, saying, all right, there's a new era. Magic Johnson, maybe he'll decide to do something. But, Rivera's been the coach for a while, has earned a lot of respect, so don't know if they fire him. And maybe Staley might be one who's a long shot. I mean, the Chargers, we've talked about it a lot, how people are expecting them to make that next leap, and they never have. And, another one of these close games where a questionable decision maybe he makes, affects the Chargers from winning a game, could be him as well, even though they have a, winning record. So I would say one of those two. But
Right.
all good candidates, I guess.
All different answers. I like it. Let's move on and do some updated power rankings. Craig, do you want to start?
Ravens, 49ers, the Jags, and the Bills.
Ravens, 49ers, Jags, Bills.
Yeah. I don't have a fifth.
You don't have a fifth.
Might be the Bengals at this rate.
All right. Next.
I got Eagles, Ravens, Dolphins, Cowboys, Chiefs. Chiefs are close to being out, but obviously Niners out of the top 5 with their very poor performances and bad quarterback play. So not in
We
it for
will
me.
get into that.
Yeah, I'll go Eagles, Chiefs. I know they looked bad last week, but I'm not ready to sell on the Chiefs just yet. Then followed by the Ravens, the Jaguars, and for fifth you could pick. There's a bunch of teams: Lions, 49ers, Cowboys. So ton of candidates in that fifth spot, but those are my top 4 for sure.
All right. Okay. Well, let's get into game previews then. This week has some monster matchups. We were just talking about Chiefs, so let's first start with Dolphins, Chiefs. Chiefs off a loss to the Broncos, but it seems like some of you have the Chiefs above the Dolphins in your power rankings, so let's get started.
4 of the top 6 in the Super Bowl market play each other this week. 6 of the top 10 play each other this week. So
Wow.
if you like a team this week in one of those marquee matchups, now's the time to bet them for the Super Bowl, because if they win and they win impressively, there will be significant fluctuation, I'm guessing, come Monday morning. Chiefs have won the last 3. The last 2 in Miami. The line's -2.5, 50.5. Miami flew Monday. I believe the Chiefs fly tomorrow to Germany, which we saw the Bills when they did it. Didn't look great. And it's not like you're going to London. You're flying another couple more hours to Frankfurt. It's going to be cold, wet, and windy. So football weather. Going back to the 50-point totals or more, we said it the other week. So they're 6-1 under now this year, and the favourites are 6-1 in those events. The only loser was the Chiefs of the Lions beating the Chiefs on opening night. This is by far Miami's toughest game until Christmas Eve. Their schedule gets super soft. The Chiefs' 3 of the next 5 are all hard. Miami, Eagles, Bills. I do think, so I was looking ahead at the schedules. If Miami win this game, I think they would probably be favourite for home field advantage. But a loss, and looking at the Chiefs' schedules and those around them, I think Jacksonville gets the inside track for home field.
Yeah, I think they caught on to the Miami leaving early. We see the line at 1.5 today. So trending towards the Dolphins. I don't hate that move. Again, I think the Chiefs are kind of trending downwards. They really, if Kelsey goes down, who are they going to throw to? I don't see as a long term as this being the Chiefs team we've seen in the past. But yeah, I think, obviously windy, that's going to affect Miami's game, but I do like them going early, so I like Miami in this spot.
Yeah, I like the fact they're going early as well. Don't know if that's a reason entirely for the move, but seems like a good idea to me to go earlier than later in the week. But like I said, I'm not willing to sell on the Chiefs just yet. They had a bad game against Denver, obviously. But I mentioned before, Denver seems to have played them well the last couple of years, no matter how bad they've been. So, and we talked about the Dolphins. The best 2 teams they played, they've gotten blown out by the Eagles and the Bills. So it's a big step up for them. what's going to decide it, I don't know. I mean, it seems like a toss-up in my mind, but reasons to back and oppose each team.
All right. Well, let's backtrack to last week. I just want to ask you guys a question. Do you think that Patrick Mahomes gets kind of a pass when it comes to quarterback play? Because I saw a couple of memes on Twitter trending. I know that he had the flu or something. I don't know if you guys saw this. It was like his flu game. I don't know if they're making excuses, but Patrick Mahomes has 15 passing TDs, 8 interceptions this season, and Russell Wilson has 16 TDs to 4 interceptions. And I feel like Russell gets a lot of heat. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, he got a lot of heat because of last year. I mean, the Broncos made the big move for him, and that move backfired. He didn't have a very good season at all. So he's having, obviously, he can't get much worse than he did last year. He's having a great season statistically, like you mentioned. But yeah, it's. I don't think Mahomes gets a free pass. I mean, he's proven it. There's a reason we talked about. Last week he was the MVP favorite because he's sort of like the default choice because a lot of quarterbacks are struggling more so than ever. But you just have that faith in Mahomes that he's going to be consistent. The Chiefs are going to be consistent. I know last week certainly raised a lot of doubts in people's mind, but we'll see what happens this week. But yeah, Russell Wilson definitely deserves some praise for playing better than he did last year, but it didn't take much to do that.
Zach Wilson's got more game-winning drives this year than Russell Wilson, okay? You can pad your stats when you're playing against practice squad defensive backs because at one stage during a 3-game stretch, the Broncos were down 130 to 53. So you're throwing the ball all the time. They're just playing zone coverage, they're just playing back, not give it away. Half the time the starters are out, he's not playing competitive games. It's a full stat. Patrick Mahomes is still the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, Mahomes, playmaker. Russell really hasn't done anything outside of Seattle, so yeah, there's no way. Jose.
Okay, let's move on. We have Eagles versus Cowboys. 2 elite teams. What are we expecting? Adam, let's start with you because you are the designated Eagles fan in the room.
Yeah, line open 3 and 46.5, totals down to 46. Not much of a move. Action slightly on the Eagles so far, but again, it's early. Eagles 1 game up in the loss column for the NFC East lead. It's the biggest rivalry in football. The Eagles have looked good. They've been shaky. They have the best record, but they have a lot of close games. So it's not like they've been dominant. Hurts has had a so-so year, throwing a lot of picks. It should be a close game. I think the line's fair, right where it is. Don't really see any edge for either team, and maybe, if anything, I think maybe the line goes up to 3.5. But I don't know. I think the line's pretty fairly priced, and it could go either way. I mean, we talked about the Cowboys now. We've talked about they look great after 2 weeks, and they looked horrible. So we don't know what to expect out of Dallas. But obviously, being a big rivalry game such as this, and so much on the line, it's going to be interesting to see if Dallas wins. And it's going to be, obviously it's a 2-horse race, but it could be nip and tuck all the way through the season. But yeah, it's looking forward to it. It's the biggest game of the year, one of the 2 on the Eagles fans' calendar. So, but yeah, I'm not sure what the public's going to do.
But the Cowboys don't have the tush push.
No,
So doesn't that give the Eagles a little bit of an edge?
Didn't they turn the ball over?
The Eagles
on the
did, yeah, they did. They fumbled on one last week. So.
But they got a new play for the tush push, the counter.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that's right.
it makes it even harder now.
This is Philadelphia's death row of a schedule. Cowboys twice, Chiefs, Bills, 49ers. I had this slightly lower on the spread. I kind of favoured Dallas slightly more over Philadelphia in my ratings. The Eagles' defense 21st on my data. The Cowboys are top 10 both sides of the ball. A rare non-prime time matchup because 4 of the 5 have been in Philly on Sunday night. And the last 1 p.m. kickoff was a 17-9 final, Dallas. The Eagles have got to win this one because the schedule upcoming gives Dallas every opportunity to catch them.
Yeah, and the Cowboys want this win bad.
Yes.
I mean, if there's going to be one win on the schedule, it's this one they want to get. But a good battle. I think the Eagles are really making the case that they can win the NFC again and go to the Super Bowl and maybe get it this time. But the Cowboys aren't going to be an easy way. They dominated my Rams last week, very clearly to start to finish. So we'll see. We'll see. It should be a very, very good matchup coming on Sunday.
All right. Our next preview is going to be Ravens Seahawks. Craig, you have Ravens as number 1 in your power rankings. The Seahawks are sneaky good. I feel like we don't talk about it enough, but who wants to start this preview?
I had the Ravens as a touchdown favourite, so I was quite surprised when I saw it 5.5. There was a meme or some quote last week about the Ravens' record against the NFC West, but they're only 3-3 against Seattle in their history. Against those games against NFC West opponents in Baltimore, 0-3 against the spread and 3-0 to the under. Seattle is not on that list. They haven't played them. Tough game. We did see some sharp money on the Seahawks to make the playoffs this week. I think it was minus 170. The Ravens are the better team.
Yeah, bettors would agree with you. I think it opened 4.5. It's now 6.
Those are going up to 6.
Yeah, Ravens are showing more consistency, kind of the one that I'm looking for. And I think the Seahawks are 5-2, but they really haven't beat anyone yet. Their defense does look a little more solid. Obviously, Witherspoon on there. They have a couple good pieces. I don't know what to think of Geno or not. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's not good. So, yeah, I kind of agree with the move here. But, you know, the Ravens, to cover a 6 or 7, you got to score points, and we just really need them to show that their offense is the real deal.
I think you hit the nail on the head calling the Seahawks sneaky good. I mean, a lot of people, when Geno's last year, everybody had dire outlook for Seattle, and they proved a lot of people wrong. They played very well, and they're playing well this year. I'll say they did have a good win. They beat the Lions in Detroit, so and they played the Bengals tough in Cincinnati as well. So, but yeah, sneaky good is a totally apt description for the Seahawks. I think obviously the Ravens are a better team than them. It's going to be a tough road game for Seattle. Usually we think of them as a great home team, but they have that win over the Lions, who had pretty good defense. They racked up a lot of points against them, if I'm not mistaken. So, I think the line's fair, but I think the sneaky good Seahawks might surprise some people.
We find ourselves cheering on Geno often when we look at the liabilities. I mean, it was the Monday night game last year against Denver, the opening week.
The opening, yeah.
There was some nervy voices in the office.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, let's do Sunday Night Football next. We have Bills versus Bengals. Bengals are the favorite. Is this a must-win for both teams?
Yes. Line opened up Bills -1. It's now Bengals -2. Is it showing? I mean, the Bengals look like, they've forgotten that they lost those first couple games.
They do every year.
Yeah, I guess they do every. They lost one more than they did last year. So maybe they're just trying to beat their record to make the playoffs. But the Bills, unfortunately, Bills are kind of trending down. A lot of problems on defense, while the Bengals are trending up, and it's a kind of a bad spot. Why we're seeing a 3-point shift. So it's going to be a good game, but I think you hit it. It's a must-win for both of these teams to remain relevant.
Yeah, Joey's right. The Bengals, 3 of the next 5 games against my top 5 rated teams, basically. Bills, Ravens, Jags. 2 of those are on the road, so you're going to make a run now. Now's the time to do it, especially with the Ravens. That's the one you've got to win. I think it's more of a must-win for Buffalo, though, because 5 of their last 6 games are against contenders. Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, Chargers, Dolphins. And then the other game is the Patriots, who's already beaten them once. And if Miami do pull off a shock Sunday morning and Buffalo lose, I think the division's out of reach.
Yeah, no, it's a great matchup, obviously. We mentioned last week how the Bills have looked. They've looked poor. Got a win last week against Tampa. But yeah, it's like 2 teams trending in different directions, sort of. The Bengals, again, slow starters have come on. Only the loss against the Titans was the only blemish since that 0-2 start. Burrow's looking better. And last week, what an impressive win going into San Francisco, winning 31-17. Maybe that predicated the Niners making the move to get Chase Young. So that really showed that the Bengals, they seem to be back. They're doing what they always do every year. But yeah, it's a big game. It should be great betting action. Both sides, you have 2 very popular teams, 2 solid teams playing each other, even though one is seemingly not playing as well. So should be good action. And Sunday night, you can't ask for a better game. I mean, it's the action should be heavy, but I see it being, both side 2-way action.
I did see Josh Allen didn't practice today. I don't know what's up with that, but
He said if a game was today, he could play. I saw was his quote.
oh, okay,
So
all right.
it's going to take a lot to make Josh Allen miss a
Yeah,
game.
definitely.
He's got the heart of a lion.
Yeah.
he's a gamer, so yeah.
Definitely.
If he had to hobble on one leg, he'd try and get out there.
Do we think the Bengals should just start starting their starters in the preseason so that by the time it's the first game of the year, they're like on top of their game?
Good idea.
Not a bad idea.
I think I should
Okay, yeah.
call the Bengals coach up and let him know. Okay, Monday Night Football, Chargers versus Jets. I'd say like the least exciting matchup we've gone over, but Jets seem to do pretty well for ratings on prime time. Joey, let's start with you.
Yes, Chargers, Jets, opened up Chargers 1.5, it's now 3. It's really a great offense versus a poor offense. The Jets, great comeback, but if you're watching that game, you weren't really going to watch that game unless you're a fan of punting, because they did a lot in that game. Kind of both of these teams really need to win. The Jets, they got Aaron Rodgers waiting and, progressing week by week. They're one game above 500, so they want to win badly, and the coach is on the hot seat on the Chargers side, so I think it'll be a pretty good matchup. But I think the Chargers want this much more than the Jets. I think.
Yeah, definitely a bigger game for them. They're sitting at 3-4. We've talked about the expectations of the Chargers every year, and this is a game they got to win. I mean, every game is a must win, but against a Jets team that doesn't have a very good offense, they might not have to put up as many points. But what the Jets have is a great defense. So that's going to be hard to overcome. Jets have won 3 in a row, including a win over the Eagles, so that says something. In my mind, seems like a little too juicy of a price. I know that's tough to say when you got the Jets offense, but again, the Chargers they're an enigma. You just don't know what to expect from them. So, I really don't know what to expect from the Chargers, but this could go either way in my opinion. But I think it's a good game betting wise. I think you'll see, again, equal action. A lot of these games, you have such competitive matchups, such big games. Just lends itself to two-way action. We'll probably need the Jets just because, people love to bet offense over defense more so.
Right.
So, but it's an interesting game and an important game for both teams for sure.
Given the Jets' offensive woes, if I'm the Chargers head coach and I've got 4th and 1 in field goal range, I'm kicking the field goal to win every time.
He's a big analytics guy. He might do the opposite though.
That's why I love him so
Yeah.
much, because he'll go for it on 4th and 1, but you don't need 35 points to beat the Jets. 4 field goals will probably get you the win.
Love it. Okay, let's play our favorite game, Overreaction or Not. Are you guys ready?
Ready?
Overreaction or not, Brock Purdy is mid.
What does mid mean?
All right, I will give you a synonym of mid. So it's like average,
When you say average?
Yeah,
middle of the pack. Because, guys, you gotta keep up on your lingo.
we're not spring chickens.
Darn kids. Yeah.
Yes.
Next week, I expect you to have mid in a couple of your answers.
You got it.
All right, brah.
I'll start it off. I'll say overreaction. I'm not saying he's the greatest. I think he's an above-average quarterback. He's 10-3 in his career. He's been put in some high-pressure games and perform admirably. Like I said, he's not one that I think is going to go out and win you the game. He's going to be a serviceable player. The Niners are a complete team. They do it with defense. You don't need him to go out and win you the game. So I know they've lost 3 in a row. A lot of people are doubting the 49ers. Do I think it's all Purdy? No, but obviously his stats. He's thrown a lot of interceptions lately, but I don't think Sam Darnold's the answer. I don't think you bring him in and that's going to make the Niners any better. So definitely an overreaction. It's not the greatest, but he's definitely not mid.
Neither for me. He hasn't played a full season yet, so how can you crown him or discrown him, whatever the word is?
Okay.
Yeah. It is great though, because my next door neighbour has a San Francisco 49ers flag on his porch. Rather than the American flag, he has a 49ers flag. So that's great every Monday morning.
Is it at half staff now?
Probably, yeah.
I got not overreaction. I think it's a good definition for Brock Purdy. I didn't really think much of him coming out of college. He kind of proved me wrong where he played better, but he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Tom Brady. He's middle of the pack. Niners team is something that they really don't need that star quarterback to be good. So, I think he is mid.
Thank you for using the term in your response. I
You use
appreciate
above
it.
mid?
Yeah, I'm
To
trying
be
to
above
think of
average.
what would, yeah. Yeah,
We'll
I'll have to
figure
work
it
on that.
The next restaurant I go to, I'll say to the server, I'll say, oh, that was mid.
Only if it is. Only if it is. We talked about it a little bit already, but overreaction or not, the Bengals are back.
You can't be back if you never left.
Oh.
Can you?
I don't know. You tell me.
Look, we discussed their woes in week 1 and week 2. They're terrible out of the gate. Someone suggested week 3 they might be an outside bet for the Super Bowl. That guy would be me. But like, the team's a good team. Joe Burrow's going healthier. They're just slow starts. For wherever they do in the preseason, they obviously should look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I think they're back to an extent. I mean, obviously last week's win was super impressive. You know, I said it before, going into San Francisco, putting 31 up against that defense, that's an accomplishment. But like, it's amazing how they keep doing this every single year. You know, obviously this game against Buffalo will tell a lot, and they have a lot of tough games up ahead as well. So they got the Ravens and Jacksonville both on the road, I think, in the next month. So I'm just going to say, I don't know. How about that?
The NFL, that's quite easy to say. Yeah, I think it's contingent on this. If they beat the Bills, then I think they're back. Certainly not good to put themselves in a hole, but the offense is looking much better. My fantasy team appreciates it.
All right, overreaction or not, the Seahawks are Super Bowl contenders.
12th on offense, 18th on defense, 35-1 to win the Super Bowl. For me, no. But one of our sharp customers bet them to make the playoffs, so we have to respect them.
So.
Yeah, I think the only reason they're so low on the Super Bowl market is because the trader who manages it on a Sunday night is a Seahawks fan. I have to have a word about his bias.
Well, I'll say it's an overreaction. Currently sitting at 35-1. They're on the periphery, like outside the top 10. They're the next team. You know, sneaky good, apt description. This week's going to be a big litmus test. They go into Baltimore and win, play well, and you got to put them up there as a contender. But from week to week, everything changes. But this will decide a lot. You know, but they have some tough games remaining. They've had some easy wins so far. They played Carolina. They played the Giants. They played Arizona. So, but they also did beat the Lions, which is a good win, and lost a close game of the Bengals. So they're not Super Bowl contenders yet, but maybe next week we'll be singing a different tune.
I put not overreaction. Very well coached team with pieces on both the offense and defense. Division, Niners trending down. Certainly the Rams and Cardinals aren't going to do anything, so that's up for grabs. You get in the playoffs, anything can happen.
Didn't they get into the playoffs when the division like 8 and 9, 7 and 9 record, or whatever? Their losing record, wasn't
Yes,
it?
they played the Rams on yeah, it's a terrible game.
Fair enough, but at one time, how many teams can truly be Super Bowl contenders? You mentioned 10.
I think this year 10.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, when you look at like probably 20-1 bar the field, that's your number.
Yeah.
And this year there's no real short price favourite. I remember a few years back, not the year the Rams won it, when the Rams started out real hot. I think I saw them 6-4 in town, and I went and looked at if you parlayed all the money lines in the playoffs historically, you would get 2-1. So 6-4 was way too short. So you're taking too much out of the field book.
Yeah.
And like I think we're 9-2 the field right now. Just shows how competitive this year is.
Yeah,
Definitely.
very competitive.
Overreaction or not, A.J. Brown is the best wide receiver in the NFL.
I'll say overreaction, but he's tied. You got to put he and Tyreek Hill, you know, is the co-number ones. You know, Hills has better stats than he does right now. Obviously, you know, how's he going to play in the big games, Tyreek? You know, AJ Brown's just consistent. He always comes up with those amazing catches. Tyreek's got the speed, but those two I think are far and away the best too. So, as far as overreaction or not, I guess he is the best if I'm having him tied with Tyreek Hill. But yeah, no, he's one of the best moves I think the Eagles have ever made in trading for AJ Brown. I mean, you know, their wide receiver core was definitely a question. They went out and got him, and he's proven Howie Roseman, you know, did a very smart thing by getting him.
I was kind of in the middle. Not overreaction, but it's.
Okay,
we'll
not
talk it
an
out.
overreaction, but an asterisk?
Yeah,
and
there's
then
an
you
asterisk.
explain the asterisk.
Mid-range.
He can certainly make the case. Obviously, not as fast as Tyreek, but has a size advantage over him. Can get up those the big balls, jump up high. But I think Justin Jefferson, when healthy, is a much better wide receiver. But of course, you know, he's not there, so maybe not an overreaction.
I had overreaction for 2 reasons. One, because of all of Tyreek's stats are way ahead of Brown's, and Tyreek has one more Super Bowl ring than AJ Brown. But also, if you shut Tyreek Hill down, Miami lose. If you shut down AJ Brown, Eagles still win games.
Gotcha. Overreaction or not, Will Levis is the long-term solution for quarterback for the Titans.
I'll buy you lunch if you know who this quote come from.
Oh, God.
A single fortunate event doesn't mean that what follows will also be good.
I don't have my part. Let's
stumped.
put the quotation
Scientist? Can you give me a hint?
It's older than all of us put together. I'll tell you after.
Albert Einstein.
Not far off.
Okay.
Overreaction. Yeah. How many times have we seen these first-time starters come in this year and win games, then the week after just look awful because teams have got video on them? Until I've seen a season, I'm not interested.
Yeah, I did a quote as well, in the words of
Did you?
Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. One game does not tell us that he is the dude for Tennessee quite yet. Teams are going to look over the tape, just like we always see. You know, rookies have a very good first game. They're going to find his mistakes, see how they're utilizing him. I'll need to see a few more games to say if he's the guy or not.
Yeah, definite overreaction. Obviously, great performance in his first game, 4 touchdown passes against the Falcons, and who has a good defense. But look, I mean, the Titans, their quarterback play has been their big question in the last few years, and I think obviously Tannehill's days are pretty much numbered there. They brought in Malik Willis. I don't think he was the answer. Why not give it to Will Levis? I mean, he's the solution right now. So until he proves that he's not the solution. So obviously, going on the road this week, it's going to be a big test. We'll see how he does. But it's an overreaction, but he's the guy now.
Yeah. Well, I forgot my quote at home, so let's just move on to weekly game predictions. Who wants to start?
I'll go first. I'm going with Craig's Dolphins this week, plus 1.5. I like that they went early, and I'm going to follow my power rankings, saying the Dolphins are better than the Chiefs.
Love it.
Thanks. Couple of honourable mentions. Minnesota, Atlanta, first half under. And the Patriots, minus the points. But I'm pulling an Adam. I'm going with the Breeders' Cup World Championship.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Charlie Appleby has a better foreign policy than some governments, right? He's got 9 wins from 18 runners in the Breeders' Cup. There's a reason there's a saddlecloth of Charlie Appleby's horse in my office on the wall. 41% of his overseas travellers win in North America, and he's had a bad year this year. Last year he saddled 3 winners, 6-1, 6-1, 11-8, and Silver Knot lost by nose. The year before, 8-1, 2-1, 2-1. He owns American horse racing in Breeders' Cup. He's got 4 entries Saturday, 2 on the undercard. So by the time Master of the Seas runs in the Breeders' Cup Mile, which he's won the last 2 years with Modern Games and Space Blues, Sisanki in race 1 and Silver Knot in race 2 will be the first 2 winners. And then when he wins the Breeders' Cup Mile, he'll have that one as well. So there you go. And if that doesn't excite you about the Breeders' Cup, Google a Razzie 1991 Juvenile Breeders' Cup and watch that give him 13 lengths at the start and win by 1 million lengths.
I remember that race.
I remember that race.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Adam, try to follow that one.
Well, I'm not going to go with the Breeders' Cup. I used to be a horse racing fan, not so much anymore. But all Craig just do is just drove down the price on all the horses. So maybe you should have kept that. Yeah, maybe you should have kept that under your hat. Well, obviously, everybody knows it's CFL playoff time, so I don't have to remind anybody that.
No, of course
So,
not.
of course, I got to go back to the CFL Western Conference semifinal. BC and Calgary playing in Vancouver. A couple of weeks ago, Calgary went into BC as 8.5-point underdogs, won 41-16. Why does that not matter? Game meant everything for Calgary, nothing to BC. So now I'm going laying 6.5 with BC at home to Calgary in the Western Conference semifinal. Winner plays Winnipeg
Oh,
to go to the Grey Cup.
amazing.
I know you'll be watching on,
Is that
on
why you went to
Saturday.
Vancouver?
Of course.
Is that
Who
what
needs LSU Alabama when you have BC and Calgary going?
All right,
Great
well,
call on the Rugby
amazing.
World Cup under though.
You know,
Yeah.
who's the quote? The blind squirrel
Finds a
a nut.
Yep.
There's
Okay,
my
enough,
quote for
enough
this week.
quotes. Enough
Okay.
quotes. All right.
What's yours?
I can't think on the spot like this. I'm going to quote myself, as always. All right, well, that it looks like we're just about out of time. Thank you all who joined for our talk with the traders. As always, this entire conversation will be uploaded to our YouTube channel tomorrow. If you don't already, please follow us at Caesar Sports on X, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We'd love to have you. Guys, any comments for the bettors heading into the weekend?
Good luck this weekend.
And enjoy the races.
All right.
Enjoy the races.
Bye.
Great card.